Hello, this is Eric Braden. You're listening to TV Confidential.
And Roberts with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will air next week on this station at the usual time. We hope you'll join us for that. In the meantime, Greg Ehrbar is with us for another look at recently released DVD and streaming titles that we think you'll find of interest. Greg, of course, is a two-time Grammy-nominated and multiple Addy Award-winning writer for television, animation, advertising, and publishing for Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal. He is also co-author, along with Tim Hollis, of Mousetracks, the story of Walt Disney Records. You can enjoy Greg's animation spin column at cartoonresearch.com. For more information about Greg, go to gregehrbar.com. You'll recall from last week's program, Greg talked about the complete series DVD release of Sanford and Son. This week, we're going to talk about the British series that NBC developed into Sanford and Son. Now, you mentioned Steptoe and Son. Steptoe was played by the actor who played Ringo's grandfather in Hard Day's Night, correct?
It's my grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wilford Bramble.
Yes. He was also in a Disney movie called In Search of the Castaways with Haley Mills.
Who, as I recall from Hard Day's Night, didn't say a lot, but played a kind of a, mischievous old man whose eyes twinkled a lot. But I would imagine he didn't do a lot of twinkling when he played Steptoe.
He was basically like Fred Sanford, only probably even more of a thorn in the side of the son. He was a irascible old guy, but inextricably linked to his son. There was this extraordinarily strong love-hate relationship between the two of them. That's the dynamic of both of these shows. Wilford Bramble was actually a very cultured British actor who talked nothing like the character that he played. He played it very, very common, as they would say. And Harry H. Corbett, who played the Lamont character, which would be Harold in Britain, was a Shakespearean method actor on the rise. He was really the star of Steptoe and Son. He was a get for television, because at the time he was doing Shakespeare on stage and was being called the Brando of England.
Perhaps he negotiated the and son part of the title.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be a TV show.
Yeah.
But Galton and Simpson were so well known that they had an anthology comedy series, and this was an installment, a 30-minute playlet about two rag and bone men, a father and a son, and it was like a drama comedy, emphasis on the drama. They wanted to write something that wasn't so frivolous of a comedy, that had a lot of drama in it. And that's where the difference is. And you can watch the very first episode. Dragon Bowman is basically Junkman. You can watch the very first episode of both of these shows, and they are almost word for word. The difference is that Harold and Lamont Harold is much more tragic than Lamont is. Harold cries at the end. At the end, Lamont starts the truck, and he realizes his bond with his father, and he goes back. Harold wants to leave his father. The horse, he can't get. They have a horse. They can't even afford a car or a truck.
Well, you could not have a horse in Watts.
No. Or in El Segundo.
Yeah.
Or in California, unless you had the money to have a horse, in the stable.
Near Burbank or whatever.
But on Oil Drum Lane, they have a horse, and he can't have the horse, so he has to lift his belongings himself. He finds he can't do it, and he weeps. And he's such an incredibly gifted and intense actor that he's really crying, and it's a very touching scene. And then his father comes to comfort him, and you see the tender side of the father, and you see the bond they have, and you see how, it's so dysfunctional, but it's so gripping, and it's a different show. So this show became a sensation with 30 minutes. It became a pilot. And Corbett wanted the money and the recognition, but he also paid the price because this show became the biggest hit. It's probably, of the 60s, the biggest hit in England. Sanford and Son isn't nearly to Americans what Steptoe and Son is to England of the 60s, as Sanford and Son was to the 70s. It was so big, they made 2 movies out of it. And those movies are available on video, and you can get them, and you can watch them on American videos, Steptoe and Son and Steptoe and Son Ride Again. The thing is that they're not that much like the show because they have to take them outside and they have to give them bigger stories to do. But they're very entertaining and they're very funny, and you get an idea. Actually, the second movie I feel is better than the first one. Diana Dors has a small role in the first one. She's the ex-wife of Richard Dawson, for trivia fans. But they don't really give you what the show gives you. A lot of the episodes are on YouTube. Also, almost every episode was reenacted on radio for BBC Radio, and BBC Radio 4 Extra plays them constantly for streaming for free. So you can go to BBC Radio Extra and right now, and you can hear about 4 episodes at a time and hear what it's like as well. And if you go to Wikipedia and look up the episodes of Sanford and Son, you can see it lists the name of the episode as Sanford and Son, the name of the episode is Steptoe and Son.
Huh.
You can compare the two, either the radio show or the television show, and you can hear them saying the same lines. And you can see what changed, what didn't change, how the attitudes match, how they don't match. Some of them are, for example, Fred's 65th birthday, when Lamont takes him to go see Fiddler on the Roof and then goes out for a Chinese dinner. And it's almost exactly the same. They go out to see a different movie because it was like 10 years earlier, and then they go out for a Chinese dinner. And the similarities are but there's no Julio, there's no Aunt Esther, but there are some obnoxious relatives. They don't show up as much. Steptoe and Son is really just about the two of them. It is like a play about those two guys, though there are other characters that do come into the story. So the first 2 seasons of Sanford are largely taken from those scripts. That said, Sanford and Son really gained its identity in the 3rd season when it was no longer the case, and it really became more of Red Fox and Damon Wilson's show.
Right, because Steptoe and Son being a British show, British seasons are a lot...
yes.
Back then, a British season was anywhere from 6 to 10
correct
episodes, whereas a typical American network season was anywhere from 22 to 26, maybe 30 episodes in 1972. Now, that's changed in the era of streaming and cable and what the networks are calling limited run series, where a season is no more than 13, 15 episodes in many cases.
Yeah, so a show like Steptoe and Son that started in 62 and ran into the early 70s only has like 57 episodes.
Yeah.
With Sanford and Son has over 100.
So if they adapted ideas from the 57 episodes by the 3rd season, they need to develop new stories, which would coincide with the show finding its own identity when it became truly a vehicle for Red Fox.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that probably no American adapted show, maybe The Office, I don't know, but it's possible that the American version of The Office may have line for line did this because Ricky Gervais may have been directly involved. That I couldn't tell you, but no series of that era, at least, was as directly linked with its origin more than Sanford and Son was. And I only recently had discovered that and discovered what an incredibly deep and extraordinary show and how incredible the actors are on Steptoe. And this is not to say anything less about Sanford and Son. It's a completely different kind of program when it got on its feet and became something else. It simply can't be compared, even though they're doing virtually the same stories, because largely the character of Harold Steptoe is he's so frustrated in that it really focuses on him more because he wants so much more out of life, and it's so hopeless for him. And it also has to do with the fact that British society simply won't allow that. And you could say that, yes, it's true for the African-American situation and remains true in a great many ways. And perhaps if Sanford and Son were on another network or in another situation, that might have been addressed more. Because there is an episode of Steptoe where they moved to a suburb and pretty much were paid to leave. But that episode did not get translated into an American episode. So, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and then they promptly moved like a few houses down at the end so they could get paid again to move away.
Now that's something that sounds like something that Fred G. Sanford would try to do.
Well, perhaps maybe if it was on ABC or CBS, but they did not do. It's interesting, the episodes. They also didn't do episodes about like the Tories and things like that. You can see why some of them were not.
I mean, Fred G. Sanford had a little bit of Ralph Cramden in him insofar as he was always looking for the next get rich quick scheme.
Always, and he played hard and fast with the truth.
Yeah.
And he got caught a lot, and that was part of the gag. Norman Lear, because he came from
Fred G. Sanford, the G stands for grandiose.
Yeah. And there were so many. There are also, just like Sanford and Son, there are a lot of, if you know your British character actors, there's a lot of great character actors on Steptoe as well, like Leonard Rossiter and people like that. But it's a fascinating studying the two, and you can do this. The entire series, if you have a PAL player, which is possible, you can buy a PAL compatible player for not that much. Or if you have a Mac, your Mac will allow you to play PAL 4 times total. I found that out. And I used one.
Yes.
And then I had to watch every episode because now I have 3. It's like a cat has 9 lives. So you can do that, but you can't buy the full series.
So you had to watch them all 57 at once?
I watched them all, and I did not convert back until I finished.
57 times 2.
It took me a while.
But not all in one sitting.
I have a life.
Well, I'm just trying to figure this out. So, okay.
No, I have a life and I have a wife, and neither would allow that.
That I know, but
it took me a month.
Okay, so all right, so okay, well, all right. So,
no, I just simply didn't use the DVD unit for anything but PAL at the time, and I just watched nothing but Steptoe on that. So
when you revisit it would pick up where you left off, and it would still be considered your first play.
But fortunately, I would say
you just didn't take it out.
I would say about 35 or so. Quite a few of them are on YouTube currently. I mean, as of this speaking.
All right. So now, Sanford and Son is available through Sony Home Entertainment. The Stepford and Son.
No, Stepford would be Catherine Ross, and
she's
a robot.
Thank you. The Steptoe and Son movie collection, which Greg mentioned a little while ago, that's available through. That's available through Anchor Bay Entertainment. Now, Steptoe and Son, the complete series, series 1 through 8. Now, in the UK, they call seasons series. So the complete series is really all 8 series or all 8 seasons. Yeah,
because they don't necessarily start them at any particular time.
Yeah. So the complete Steptoe and Son is available, all 13 discs, all 8 series available through BBC Home Video.
And that's a PAL, and it is available on Amazon. You just have to. It tells you on Amazon, it warns you when you buy it that this is only playable on these kind of Region 2 players.
Okay, so you have to make sure you have a compatible player to play Steptoe and Son, the complete series, all 8 series available on DVD through BBC Home Entertainment for the PAL compatible. However, there are other ways to watch it digitally. You can read Greg Ehrbar's animation spin column twice a month at cartoonresearch.com. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, This is who you're missing.
Connie Stevens, Dawn Wells,
Eric Braeden,
Tony Camille,
Anson Williams, Don Most, Roy Finnis, Peter Marshall,
Sherry Alberoni,
George Slaughter,
Dan Castellaneta,
Taylor Hicks,
Lindsay Wagner, Loretta Swit,
And many, many more of your favorite celebrities and people behind the scenes in the world of television. That's TV Confidential. Every week on this station and every day online at televisionconfidential.com.
Accredited by Guinness World Records, welcome to Archival Television Audio Incorporated, a peerless TV soundtrack archive, preserving the audio from television's first 3 decades, the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the golden and silver age of television.
For more information, go to atvaudio.com.
Become a TV Confidential confidant and receive unlimited access to the last 5 years of TV Confidential, plus other members-only content. For more information, go to televisionconfidential.com/join.
We're Biffle and Schuster. How do you do? That's right, folks. We're Biffle and Schuster. We want to tell you about this amazing misadventures of Biffle and Schuster. It's a DVD from Peter Lober, and you're going to love it.
We're Biffle and Schuster. It's terrific.
Yeah, you know what Joe Dante says about them?
What did he say?
He says, forehead slapping funny. What impresses is the dogged authenticity to the era, which makes it all the more hilarious.
Absolutely. Accent on the high.
We're
Biffle and Schuster.
As you can see, no one else can make that statement louder than we. They say we're soporific, and it's probably we. Because
we're Biffle and Schuster. Oh, we're Biffle and Schuster. No, we're Biffle and Schuster.
B-I-F-F-Biffle, Biffle. S-H-W-S to Schuster.
Biffle and Schuster. Need we say more?
Available wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Kino Lorber.
All right, you loafers, get back to work. What am I paying you for? Why is he yelling at his shoes?
At Robertson, with enough time to tell you that Carol of the Bells will become available soon for streaming on demand, just in time for the holidays, while Turnover becomes available on DVD beginning in December, while new episodes of Mood Swings premieres Thursdays on PureFlix. Follow Donna Mills on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as at donnamills.com. You can also follow James Dumont on Twitter and on Instagram, as well as jamesdumont.com. That'll do it for our program this week, folks. Ed Robertson, behalf of Tony Figueroa, Donna Allen, Phil Grace, Greg Ehrbar, and producer Chris Corman. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next time on TV Confidential.